Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the My Little Pony fanfiction known as For the Ones We Love. This is Chapter 3, The Recovery. This is written by Flimflambros on Fanfiction. And before we get to the story, I would like to address an issue of my readings, mainly of this and, other stuff. So basically, I know I don't put these out, as often as I would like to, and as often as you guys would like to listen to them, but, I don't know, it's just, some days I just really don't feel like recording, and other days that I do, I can't, the way my scheduling falls, so, I just record when I can, and if I'm not motivated to do something, I'm not going to force myself to do it, alright, and it's as simple as that. Anyway, I do like the story. It's great, and I'd love to keep reading it, and I probably will, but it'll just... Hopefully by the end of the summer, I'll have a more consistent schedule up and running, but for now, I hope you can deal with it, and I hope you still enjoy my content. Anyway, I'm just going to note real quick that I am recording with a cold, which sucks, and also I'm going to try to get this out before I go to Florida this week, so... yeah. Anyway, enough dally-dillying. Let's get into this. This is For the Ones We Love, Chapter 3, The Recovery. A broken bone heals in a day. A broken heart is there to stay. Spike's eyes slowly peeked open. His sight was fuzzy and shaky, but he could still make out the tiny splashes the rain made in the puddles. He glanced around. The trees seemed to move around him. No. He was moving. But how? He couldn't feel his legs as they dragged slowly through the mud. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. An upset voice said beside him. Spike mustered up what little energy he had left. Rare? He whispered. Rarity had one of Spike's massive arms wrapped around her shoulders. Her horn was glowing a powerful white, trying to support the heavy dragon. She gasped. Spiky! It's okay. I'm getting you to the hospital. Everything will just be... Ah! Rarity dropped Spike as they both fell into the mud. The dragon was too heavy for her to carry it by herself. Spike rolled to his side to get a look at Rarity. Almost every inch of her cloud-white coat was soaked in either mud or dragon's blood. Her one eye was completely swelled shut and a deep purple, and her beautiful violet hair was glued to her face and neck from rainwater and mud. The mare kneeled by the fallen dragon, tears rolling down her mud-stained cheeks. She dug her face in Spike's chest, ignoring the blood gushing out of it. I'm so sorry, Spike, she said between teary breaths. I can't do it. I just can't do it, she cried. I'm just not strong enough. Spike rose a shaky claw and slowly stroked Rarity's mane. Even with the rain and the mud, her hair was as soft as silk. If he was going to die, he was at least going to die next to the one he loved. I'm sorry. Spike, she whimpered. I can see rainbow, he groaned. You see a rainbow? She asked, still staring at the dying dragon. Spike's head started to feel light. Not a rainbow, he said weakly, starting to fade again. Rainbow, he said before blacking out. Rainbow? Asked Rarity, trying to get an answer out of the unconscious Spike when she finally realized. Rainbow! She looked up to the sky. Sure enough, there was a cyan Pegasus laying lazily on a cloud. Rainbow! She hollered. The rainbow-maned Pegasus rolled in her slumber, cursing under her breath. Trying to sleep here, she called, unaware of her friend's predicament. Rainbow! Spike is hurt! The frustrated unicorn yelled. Rainbow shot up from the cloud. What? She looked down on the bleeding dragon and the filthy mare. Oh my god, 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 oh my god. She panicked, quickly flying to the ground. We've got to get him to a hospital! She grabbed Spike's left arm and wrapped it around her neck. Rarity was doing the same with her right. The two ponies ran towards the hospital, praying they weren't too late. 5 astraces. The doors of the hospital burst open as the two ponies dragged the dragon inside. From there on, everything moved in a blur. The nurses and doctors quickly got Spike on a stretcher and ran him to the critical injuries ward, Rarity never leaving his side. Twilight was alerted almost immediately after they got Spike into surgery, and she teleported there instantaneously, tears rolling down her cheek. Word spread quickly across town, alerting all of Spike's friends and anyone else he had cared about. Soon, every pony in Ponyville knew what Spike had done, and how he saved Rarity. 5 more astraces and yet another scene break. It had been 5 days since the incident. Spike had slipped into a coma, and had yet to awake from it. Every day the situation looked more and more dire. "He's been like this for 5 days now!" screamed Twilight at the nurse. "You're a doctor! Fix him!" "Please, Miss Sparkle," said Nurse Redheart in a calm, controlled voice. "I need you to calm down. We're doing everything we can, but he has sustained multiple injuries." They turned their attention to Spike. He was hooked up to many different types of medical machines with flashing lights and IV tubes. The dragon had a large bandage wrapped around his stomach area, where he was cut by the diamond dog. His right claw was wrapped up where the dog had bit him. His face had healed up quite nicely, with the exception of a deep red scar that ran down his right eye. Redheart looked back at Twilight. "You see, Miss Sparkle, he's lucky to even be alive. It was easy to treat the broken ribs, the internal bleeding, and the torn ligaments. But the dog that attacked him struck his underbelly, the Achilles heel of dragons." She looked over her notes again. "Based on the amount of blood on the white mare and his low pulse, he lost over half his blood. If he was a pony, these injuries would have killed him." Twilight was crying again. She was still angry and only getting madder at the lack of answers. "So? I don't care! Just help him!" "Twilight, please calm down." The nurse's calmness was strangely eerie. "We have done all we could. We even called in dragon experts from the university, but by Spike's age, most dragons have begun to hoard, and a few are willing to volunteer for medical experiments." She looked at the teary purple unicorn inside. "I'm sorry, Miss Sparkle, but we just can't treat him anymore. His body could have a negative reaction to the treatment. We just have to hope his own body can recover." Twilight started to calm down. She knew she wasn't mad at the doctor, but rather the fact that Spike was like this. "Thank you," she said as the nurse left the room. Twilight looked over to the hospital bed, and the mare leaning over it. Rarity was beside Spike, her eyes full of sadness and regret. She had not once left the dragon's side, not for food, not for sleep, not even to bathe, as she was still covered in dried mud and blood. She could hear every word as she lay next to Spike, waiting for him to wake up. "It's all awful," she moaned as she cried once again, shedding tears for the dragon she had loved. She looked at the scar over his right eye. It reminded her of all the pain she had caused him, even though it was unintentional, but it could never be undone. She brushed her hoof over the good side of his face. "I should have told you I love you, and now it's too late." Rarity wiped away her tears as Twilight walked up beside her. Twilight tried to keep calm as she spoke to Rarity. "How is he, Rarity?" she asked. The white mare looked terrible. Her white coat was covered in a mess of dark reds and browns. Her purple mane and tail had dried to her body and had dirt and branches still stuck to it. Her face was the worst. Though her eye had healed up, her mascara had run down her face from all her crying. Her eyes were strained and bloodshot from 5 days without sleep. "I don't know. He's just been asleep for so long," she said. Twilight put a hoof around her friend's shoulder. "I'm worried too." A tear started to form in her eye. "We just have to hope that he can pull through." She took a look around. "Hey, where's Rainbow? I thought she was visiting again today." "The doctors had to remove her again. She destroyed another hospital room." She gave a little sniffle. "Truly unladylike." Twilight smiled. At least Rarity wasn't mourning as bad. "So they locked her up?" The door burst open. A cyan blue pony dashing in the room. "Was locked up," she said, walking in up to Twilight and Rarity. "They let you out?" asked Twilight, puzzled because the Pegasi still looked quite angry. "Yeah, they gave me a copy of the new Daring Do to help me calm down," she said, letting a large brown book fall from her wing. She looked at Spike. "Those damn dogs were lucky I was there. I would have shown them a thing or two." She looked over at Rarity, who was still cuddling the sleeping dragon. "She's still here?" she whispered to Twilight. Twilight nodded in response. "She hasn't left since we brought him here." She put a friendly hoof on her shoulder. "I'm still thankful that you were close by to help Rarity." Rarity just stood there, head on the edge of Spike's bed, crying as quietly as she could. "It was my fault," she whimpered. "What? No, it's not," said Rainbow Dash. Rarity lifted and turned her head towards the ponies. Her eyes were bloodshot, the redness of her retina merging with the blueness of her iris. "How is it not my fault? I'm the one who dragged him diamond hunting. I'm the one who he tried to protect. I'm the one who could never show him the love he deserved." "Rarity, calm down." "Don't tell me to calm down, Twilight!" she yelled, slamming her hoof down on Spike's stomach wound. Spike's eyes slowly peeked open. His head was pounding and his body felt weak. How long was he out? Where was he? Where was Rarity? "I don't know why he does it. He just has to be such a beast." What was that? She thought I was a beast? What was that? She thought he was a beast? "If it wasn't for me, none of this would have happened." Was it his fault all this danger followed him? "Sometimes I think we should just have let him grow up and be a dragon," she screamed, running out of the door of the room, Twilight and Rainbow quickly following her. He was alone. His heart began to sink. He just heard what he prayed he'd never hear. Rarity thought he was a monster. He groaned a little, barely audible at all as the depression washed over him, falling back into his sleep. Outside the room, Twilight and Rainbow were trying to comfort the upset Rarity. "Rarity, are you okay?" asked Twilight. "I haven't eaten or slept in 5 days, and I'm realizing the only one I will ever love might die, and I just wish I never met him. No, I'm not all right!" she screamed, her angry bloodshot eyes filling with salty tears. I just want my Spike back." She collapsed on the ground. The two ponies looked at the mare. "Is she all right?" asked Rainbow. They heard the soft purr of breathing being emitted from the bloody pony. "She's okay. She's just sleeping," smiled Twilight. She magically lifted the sleeping pony and reopened the room's door, placing the sleeping mare next to the sleeping dragon. Almost instinctively, Rarity rolled over to her side, sliding a hoof across Spike's muscular chest as he snuggled close to her dragon. The doors opened again as a familiar orange pony entered the room. "Hey, y'all," she said sincerely. "How that big guy doing?" "Don't know, but at least Rarity's sleeping," sighed Twilight. "Well, that's good, I reckon," she said, reaching in her saddlebag. "I know that there doctor food is really nasty, so I brought you one of Granny Smith's world-famous apple pies," she said, pulling out a large, warm pie out of her bag. "Thank you, AJ. I'm sure they'll love it when they wake up," said Twilight. "Hey, where's Fluttershy and Pinky?" "Oh, they went to Zakar's. Said something about getting some sort of natural painkiller or something." Applejack looked at the two in the bed. "Poor things." She heard Twilight give a little sniffle. "Hey there, Sugar Cube. He'll be all right. That dragon got a lot of fight in him." She leaned in closer to Twilight. "Hey, Twi, does Rarity know that she's still covered in blood?" "Applejack, I don't think she cares right now. She hasn't even been home since we got her here. She's been having me check up on Sweetie Belle. And she's even staying at the library with me." Slowly, Spike's eyes started to open again. He wanted to keep them closed, never to awaken again. He heard more voices. Most of them were faded, but he was able to make out who was in the room. He took a deep breath. He felt a new weight on his chest. A hoof. He glanced over to see, of all ponies, Rarity. She was cuddled up next to him, fast asleep. Even though he now knew she didn't love him the way he did, it was still nice to be this close to her. As Spike tried to sit up, he heard the waves of gasps of ponies, as every pony rushed over to his side. Twilight was hysterical with happiness, lunging right on top of her dragon and giving him a loving hug. "Spike! Oh, thanks Celestia, you're okay!" she cried into the dragon's neck. "Nice to see you too, Twilight," the dragon said weakly. "Maybe you could get off me. You're kind of leaning on my stomach." "Oops, sorry," she said, quickly getting off Spike. Spike looked around, seeing all of his close friends around him. It gave him a good warm feeling inside to know that so many ponies cared about him, even if the one he truly cared for didn't. Twilight decided to get him caught up with what was happening during the 5 days he was out. How he almost died, how Rarity and Rainbow carried him all the way to the hospital, how he was in a coma for 5 days, and how Rarity never left his side. That last one made him think. Why would Rarity stay by his side the whole time? He quickly abandoned this, though. She probably just felt bad or something. So, RD saved my life. Guess I owe you one.
Ah, don't sweat it, Spike. Just doing what any pony would do.
Rainbow said proudly. The door opened as a white nurse pony entered the room. I'm sorry, but visiting hours are over, and we need to run some more tests. The ponies obeyed the nurse, walking out of the room. She noticed the white mare and now awake dragon. Oh, Spike, nice to see you're awake, but your friend will have to leave. She's asleep, nurse. He stroked her mane again. Can't you just let her stay? The doctor sighed. I guess the tests aren't that extreme. I just need to take a blood sample. Spike gave a little chuckle. That's it? Just a blood test? Yes. And here I was hoping for a sponge bath, the dragon said, giving the nurse a wicked grin. Who do you think cleaned you up? She responded, returning the same wicked smile. Nurse Redheart proceeded with the blood test, taking a large needle and carefully injecting it into one of his loose scales on his arm. That should do it. I'll be back in a bit. If the blood is clean, you can leave today, she said as she headed out the door. Almost an instant later, a pink flash of pinkness zoomed in the room. Hey, Spike, while you're awake, that's so cool. Hey, sorry we didn't get to visit, or we just had to go grab a potion from Zakora. And then we had a rhyming contest, which she won because she rhymes all the time. And then we came back, but Fluttershy got scared, and I had to sing a song, but I wasn't sure what it was about. Anywho, you feeling better? Are ya? Are ya? Are ya? The energetic pink pony shot at him with a barrage of words. Nice to see you too, Pinky. Sugar Cube, take a breath. You're gonna turn white again. No fucking joke. Ugh, I feel so lightheaded now, said Applejack as herself, Twilight, Rainbow, and Fluttershy entered the room. Ooh, but I'm just so happy that Spike's awake now, she beamed. Fluttershy in her soft and timid voice finally spoke. Oh, I'm so happy for him.
Me too,
bounced the party pony.
Anywho, I gotta go.
What? Asked the now annoyed Rainbow. You just got here and now you're leaving?
Well, duh. I need to plan Spike's getting better party, she sang, hopping out the door. See ya.
I guess we should all head back home. Got a lot of work to do today. Soon everybody was saying their goodbyes and leaving the room. Nurse Redheart walked by Fluttershy as she left the room. Spike, I have good news. The blood samples we took show no signs of contamination, and since you're awake now, you can leave whenever you like. Thanks, he said, slowly getting up from the bed, being extra careful to not disturb Rarity. Just try not to overwork yourself, the nurse said. The dragon smiled. Hey, if I get hurt again, I just get an excuse for another sponge bath. Nurse Redheart couldn't help but blush as she left the room. Spike got up and out of the bed. There was still a large pain in his stomach, but nothing he couldn't handle. He looked at the sleeping beauty laying on the bed. He felt a rush in his gut, overpowered by the sick emotion of sadness and depression. Rarity, I love you, and I wish you could feel the same for me. He picked up the mare in his arms, cradling her like a newborn foal. She was light as a feather and just as beautiful, and it sickened him that he could never have her. He quietly walked out of the hospital. It was very late, and the sun had gone down and Luna had already risen the moon. Rarity opened her eyes slightly as she felt her body move as if it was flying. She looked up to see Spike's masculine face looking forward. Her heart warmed as she was held by her one true love. She smiled as she let her exhausted body fall back to sleep, comforted by Spike's warm body and his steady heartbeat, a heartbeat that belonged to her. 5 astraces and another scene break. As Spike entered the boutique, he noticed how little had changed since he last saw it. The fragrance of a mare still clinged to the room, a smell that Spike had deeply come to admire as he visited Rarity. Spike could not help but notice another smell. It was a stronger, fresher one. What's that smell? He thought as he sniffed the air. The smell was coming from upstairs. He slowly made his way up the stairs with his precious cargo. He suddenly felt his foot slip as he almost lost balance. He quickly extended his tail to push up on the floor and regained his balance. He looked down to see a perfume bottle laying on the stairs. Opal, he muttered. The cat was always playing with things that didn't belong to her. He ignored it as he continued up the stairs. As Spike entered Rarity's room, he gave a quick look around. He noticed all the cloth rolls and strings of fabric and jewels hanging all over the place. Organized chaos is still chaos. He chuckled as he went over to Rarity's bed. He slowly placed the mare down and was careful not to wake her. Spike took a seat beside the sleeping pony as his heart began to torment him with feelings of regret. Regret at what he told himself about Rarity. Regret about what he had said to her. He felt his eyes grow watery, something that hadn't occurred since he was young. He turned to face her. She looked so beautiful sleeping on the bed. Rarity, I would do so much for you. He tried his best to push back his tears. He never wanted to cry. I would do so much for you. If only I could tell you how I feel. Why does it even matter if I love you? You don't feel the same way. He looked over to one of Rarity's mirrors to see his reflection. For once, he didn't see the handsome and attractive Spike he had always saw in the mirror. He saw what he really was. He was a dragon. A monster. Do you think that I'm a beast? You think that I'm just a beast, and you're right. I'm not a pony, and I can never be the stallion you deserve. You have your dream colt that I can never be. It was getting harder and harder to fight off the tears. I should just leave you alone. Go grow up and just be a dragon, but I can't. I guess I'm just too selfish, too greedy. You're beautiful. The thought of ever leaving you. He couldn't help himself. Shiny tears rolled down his face as he clenched his eyes shut. The few tears that squeezed through his eyes fell down his face, and he caught them in his hands. Slowly, the tears began to harden, the liquid freezing in his hands. Dragon tears. The rarest of all gems, he muttered to himself. He looked at his crystallized tears. Rarity had always wanted some of these, but dragons weren't known to cry often. I give you these, and my heart, but all you want is friendship. Just friendship. He stopped crying. I guess I can do that. If it means you'll be happy, then I'll gladly suffer just so you can be happy. He wiped up the last of his crystal tears as he finished this little speech. He rose from the bed and took one last look at Rarity. She was still covered in blood, and her hair was a mess, yet she still looked like an angel to him. He leaned in on the mare and placed a gentle kiss on her cheek. Her coat was soft like clouds, and he never wanted to pull out, but he did. With a heavy heart, Spike slowly closed the door to Rarity's room. He started his slow descent down the stairs, his soul damaged and his mind weary. Suddenly, he heard a rattle in the kitchen. He quickly extended his claws in case of trouble. He slowly approached the door. There was definitely some pony in the room. He took a deep breath and charged in the room.
Hey, Spike,
Sweetie Belle said, looking at the shocked look on Spike's face.
Nice to see you're feeling better.
Sweetie Belle? The bedazzled dragon asked, looking at his love's little sister. She had grown quite a lot in the last 10 years, much like Spike had. Her body had come in nicely, and her mane had grown out, resembling Rarity's, but shorter and curlier.
Hello to you, too,
she said sarcastically, taking another bite out of her levitating apple.
What are you doing here? Twilight said you were staying with her,
he said.
I was, but I came back to home to feed the cat and escape Twilight. You know she had me do all the chores when you were out.
Spike couldn't help but smile, thinking of the young unicorn performing his long list of chores while tolerating Twilight's controlling personality. Yeah, she can be quite a handful, said Spike, agreeing with her. Sweetie Belle walked behind him and hopped on a chair to be eye level with the massive dragon. As he walked past him, he couldn't help but sniff a strong scent of perfume on her. Sweetie Belle noticed the dragon sniffing the air.
It was Opal. She spilled the perfume.
I see. So how's school treating you? She shrugged.
Can't complain. It's hard work, but I'm really making a lot of progress in my music class.
She started to get excited.
And I heard that Sapphire Shores is looking for backup singers. I really hope I get that part.
Don't worry about it. I was there when you got your cutie mark. You'll be fine, he said, pointing at her flank, a large musical note surrounded by a big silver star imprinted on it. Well, I should probably get going. If Twilight finds out I left the hospital without telling her, she'll kill me. Spike started to head out the door. He was just about out when he felt a hoof on his shoulder. He turned around to see Sweetie looking right at him, her face dead serious. She loves you back, you know, she said. What? Rarity. She loves you, Spike. His heart stopped, contemplating what sort of sick game Sweetie was playing on him. I have no idea what you're talking about, he lied.
No, Spike, it's true. She never left your side, not even for a second when you were in the hospital, and you should have seen her when she got ready for you when you came over. She said it was to be ladylike, but I knew she was lying. She never freaked out like that over anyone but you, even when she had a date to get ready for.
Spike looked right in Sweetie Belle's eyes. Sweetie, look at me and tell me what you see.
I see the dragon my sister
Exactly, Spike interrupted. I'm a dragon. A big, evil, ruthless killer that has no right to be with someone like Rarity.
You have every right to be with her,
screamed Sweetie back at him.
She loves you, Spike. She was just too scared to ask you, and you're always out with other ponies or other dragons. Get that through your thick skull.
I'm a dragon, the dragon yelled. And I heard her call me a beast and that she wished that I left a long time ago. And if that's not enough proof for you, then just go to hell! The dragon pushed away from Sweetie Belle. He left the house and took off, disappearing into the night sky. Sweetie turned around and headed upstairs.
Fine, Spike. Believe whatever you want,
she grunted. She headed to her room next to Rarity's when she heard a quiet sobbing. She slowly peeked into the room.
Rarity?
Rarity was sitting up on her bed. She was crying in her hooves.
Sweetie,
she cried.
Sweetie,
she cried, a guilty look on her face.
How much did you hear?
Sweetie asked.
When the yelling started. I see. Did you really say all those things about Spike?
Rarity tried to speak, but her voice started to break up. She jumped and hugged her sister.
I screwed up, Sweetie Belle. I said some things I shouldn't have, and he must have heard them. Hey,
Sweetie hummed, trying to comfort her.
I should have told him how I felt,
she cried.
Yeah, even Big Mac didn't take this long to tell Cheerily,
Sweetie said.
I just feel so horrible. Poor Spike. His heart must be tormenting him,
Rarity cried. Sweetie pulled her sister away from her.
It's not too late. Pinky's throwing Spike a party for his recovery, and it should be ready when he gets there.
A new light lit in Rarity, her eyes filled with life instead of dread.
Of course. Come on, Sweetie Belle, let's go.
Rarity was about to leave the room when Sweetie tugged her arm.
Maybe you might want to clean up first.
Rarity looked down at herself. She had completely forgotten that she was still filthy.
Oh, yes, of course. First a bath, then we go get Spike and tell him how I truly feel.
And that was Chapter 3 by Flimflambros, for the ones we love. Thank you all for listening. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't expect me to be getting on a schedule anytime soon. I will definitely try to get Chapter 4 out, but hopefully it won't take 2 months. I don't want to try to get in a habit of uploading these every 2 months, and I hope you're able to put up with my cold, So, I'm done rambling. Thank you for listening. Remember to show that support if you like my readings and my various other things. I shall talk to all you people later. Have a nice day. Bye.